and I'll share a small snippet. Annette brought in a share of an experience that she had yesterday where she had a nice aha experience. And the experience was that when she is happy in the now, she has her happy ever after. And then we were just talking about the steps around that, and about what's inside here and what's out there, and how we can separate the two, or not how, but we can separate the two to have clarity of where we are. And then to get momentum, it's really useful and beneficial to not have a separation, but a collaboration between the two.
Aligning the two so they match.
There's that aligning again, right?
Yeah.
For the two again, sorry, or how would you? Is there another way you can explain one versus the other?
Which one? Separate which one?
The two that are being aligned.
The inside and the outside.
Yeah. Just like action versus internal experience.
Mm.
What creates action?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Doesn't the internal create the action? Action can't happen without it, can it? Like action takes energy, yeah. And maybe that's part of the capture, is that we do an action and then we look at, oh, how does that make us feel? That's an unresolvable loop. So we say, well, how do I feel? And then I take the action. That's a resolvable loop. That's the difference, in here or out there. And one's like we're aligned to a structure that resolves, rather than aligning to an unresolvable structure. The feeling, how we feel in here, shapes the action, whether we're aware of it or not. It's like the alphabet exists whether we know it or not.
You know what this is reminding me of. I'll share this. So I can remember being in emotional spaces where there was no way in which I could shift that emotion. I was completely trapped in that emotion, and that emotion was immobilizing. And in those times, I had to go to the outside. I had to go outside of myself. There was enough awareness to know that if I went outside, I could get a little bit of a shift from the outside, even though I couldn't find it inside of me in that context or at that point in time, which is one and the same thing. So what I'm thinking about is what Annette was saying, was those little splinter booby traps that we have along the way. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because it got prompted for me in your question about how do you align those two, and that, I guess that's the wiggle, right? Well, I mean, I don't guess, I recognize that that's what the wiggle is about. It's those tiny little movements between inside and outside until you can feel that there is more of an alignment.
I like that.
Okay.
The alignment is opening to the could.
Yeah. Yeah.
What could it be? How could I feel? What could I need?
Which is, opening up for possibilities. And I guess keeping our openness and our willingness to engage with possibilities comes from practicing it over and over and over and over again.
What does alignment feel like?
Sorry, just say that again.
What does alignment feel like? One word.
Flow.
Yeah, I go for momentum.
I think alignment feels like a click when everything aligns all together. It's like there's a click and an aha moment.
Nice. If we had that all the time, right, it would just be normal.
It would feel like nothing.
Mm.
Because if you,
so sorry, Annette, go.
because, or space, like nothing space, because there's no charge, there's no wiggle.
No capture.
Mm-hmm.
No cage. Neutral. Oh, wow. Neutral. That's what I heard.
And infinite.
Space. Neutrally expanding space. Eyelash, what would alignment feel like between the two?
I think of like having dissonant chords and then you get something where you have harmony.
Oh, beautiful.
Nice. Which one dominates?
Well, or I was also thinking about like, my dad always says that the best way to learn an instrument is just to play around on it, like make noise until you start making noises you like. So if you were to take that process and then also think of like Miles Davis's thing of there's no such thing as a wrong note, only I don't remember the quote exactly, but the idea is like you just have to follow with the right note. Like or like you can always make any note the right note depending on what you follow it with, you know?
Mhm.
Which I also like with art, which is why I like more permanent mediums like ink and oil and watercolor over like acrylic where you can cover things up. You know, like if you work with the consequences of what happens and you practice doing that, like it doesn't necessarily um, elicit emotion or communicate experience or story until you get that alignment. You know, it's not that it has to communicate something in particular, like you're saying, which one dominates between a dissonant chord and something that has harmony, like classical, major, minor, whatever. Um, and either of those could be right. Like you could be playing all dissonant chords in a way where you're communicating something through your music.
Mm.
So I think more that makes more sense to me. Also because if you're in the process of learning to follow up what you're playing with something that makes sense, you're going to make mistakes as you're learning, right?
Mm.
And it's also a pretty much as frustrating as trying to learn an instrument by just fooling around on it.
It's a great analogy, Katie.
Yeah, that comes in handy. Music is great. You're always saying everything's vibration too, right? So that's what I was just kind of picturing.
Mhm.
And then it's just music, and it's easier to look at it like through the spiritual and musical lens than the physics lens, because honestly, acoustics are like the most difficult shit that I've ever tried to do with physics. Pardon my French, sorry. Not that there's anything wrong with French.
Anyone want to share an out of their experience or a trigger like to help others maybe see theirs? Maybe there's something that happened recently.
I couldn't make out what you were saying, Jesse. I don't know if that's the case for anyone else.
He was saying, he was asking if anybody wants to share and in here out their experience.
Oh,
An experience where they became aware of it, and how they worked with it.
in that, or how would you say it's captured?
Can't hear you, Jesse.
Yeah, that was muffled.
I've got it. Lost your mind.
Yeah, I can go.
So it's just, okay.
Can't hear you, Jesse.
It's okay, Chi, you go.
Mm. My wife is
Yeah,
always moving things around, so especially everything. I get to do that. It's like I just moved this,
Go.
so get the idea that it's time to paint. Paint the inside.
Jess, your sound is very garbled. We can't make out what you're trying to say.
And so we get it all there, and I said, I feel bad, right? That she's doing it by herself. So I help, not willingly. Point was, is like she's not making me paint. Yet I'm helping, right? Because that's what a good husband does. But I didn't want to. So as I was rolling, that was all in my head. It's just I could hear my little pattern going around. It's like, oh, she's doing this to me. Oh, I hate painting. Painting's doing this to me. I hate painting. It's captured in it, captured in the negative of it. And I couldn't, like, even aware of it. It was just like, ugh. I didn't want to let it go, even though I know how to. Now, the other part of it was like, when we see this and we start working it, none of them untangle the same way. So it was like just as easy as I could have enjoyed doing it. Holidays, we're in the middle of them. Is the season. A lot of people wrapped up in the holidays. Triggers, out there in here.
Mm. what came to mind for me with um sorry, with what was being shared was you were talking about that loop of thought that you had about she's doing it to me. And when we realize that and acknowledge that despite what we might be experiencing, things are changing all the time from millisecond to millisecond, then what I realize is that if I'm in that kind of state, there's in that capture, as you would put it, there's something that keeps on keeping me in that capture.
So this is just awareness.
Yeah.
Awareness of how our inner world, which is our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, are often dominated. They're dominated by the external circumstances. And
Yes.
this
And
creates a reactive loop, a reactive feedback loop,
and they're dominated by our
an oscillation, like in our cage. In a cage, or we can move around. And this is how we capture ourselves, thinking that it's from what we see as the outside in.
correct. And it's also our that's where the awareness of the choice that we're making comes in, right? Because we
No,
can,
captured by this when our inner world, when our in here reacts automatically
Yeah.
to external triggers.
yeah,
This can be busy, chaos, worry, stress, monkey mind, like
yeah,
oscillating, bouncing back and forth between the cage.
Yeah.
Thinking that's free.
yeah,
But this just keeps us stuck and feeling trapped by the circumstance.
yeah,
So it's aware you're being aware you've been captured. Like it's our past, it's our history, it's how it's
yeah,
been.
yeah.
So what? Now how could it be laid out to the future? When we speak about the observer, it's to observe what? Like to be aware of what? That
Mm.
you, that we are not our thoughts or our emotions. We are just the one observing them.
Mm. Mm.
And the
Mm.
moment that we notice it is the first step out of it. That's the beauty of the pause, of the, oh man, what is that trigger? What captured my awareness?
Mm.
Wow, now I'm just gonna, rather than let the reactive pattern run, rather than going there, I'm gonna look at it like, oh, what is it? I might even give it one word name. And if it's one that I want to keep, then I'll keep going down it. Usually these types of triggers are not. And so then it's like, oh, I'm going to do the opposite of that word. If it makes sense, I'm going to do the opposite of that word. Because that's truly, truly what we want is in the opposite of that.
Mm. Mm.
And that becomes the next one. the next door becomes the charges.
Yeah.
So next it'll be aligning between the charges.
Yeah.
What's between the charges? What could be between the
Mm.
charges?
Mm. Mm.
Neutral. Neutral is an expansive, huge, amazing space. It's just when you're on the edges is where you're captured.
Yes.
If there was an edge to be captured on, I would take a positive. But this is why we have this conversation, is because people are not trapped in the positive,
Mm.
in the expansive, in the flowing state of life.
Mm.
So we could be, but we haven't learned how to.
Mm.
And so that's the next one. It's like aligning between the charges. Why let them do all of that? So that we can allow better choices. So that as as Chi has said, life gets better and better.
Mhm.
Yeah, with that, I'm happy. When I'll change that when they're happy, that happy was like, oh, like that part of it is complete. Fulfilled. Boom. Next. What could it be? Like, that was my awareness of practicing it. Like, yeah. Like happy. Yeah. Part of it. Complete. Fulfilled. There. Yep. Till the next one.
Mm.
Don't we? How about your word that you'll take with you today?
Mm. I think I'm going to go with trust. Trust in here.
Bye, Annette.
Have a great day, Annette.
Your sound's back, Jess. Your sound was very bad for quite a while.
I wish you'd have told me. Sorry.
And we tried to.
We tried.
Yeah, it's like you couldn't hear us.
It was very muffled, like you were talking underwater.
Mhm.
That's the other ear pieces that
Mm.
you tried to say it out loud, or was it in the chat?
No, out loud. You'll hear on the replay.
Oh,
Well, then we have
apologize
one
for
of
that.
those recording.
What's that?
Then we have one of those recording with some muffled sound where people actually need to really, really listen.
Scarcity here, Hans.
Yeah, you gotta see the possibilities in it. Then they can test their computer or their TV by turning up the volume. But then when other people, whoa, they're shouting.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, I hate those ones, but I thought maybe it'd be better. The microphone gets caught right around the jacket, so all you hear is the jacket scratching.
Mm.
Lessons, right? Playing music, right? Tools,
Mhm.
tools that interfere.
Yeah.
That's right. I could wallow that's then turns to junk.
Mm.
Oh well, doesn't change it.
What
Oh,
doesn't it
you do
change?
that.
That it's junk
Yes,
or that I worry about it.
yes,
None of them change the fact of what it is. None of it changes the sound.
correct. So the secret is to accept.
Aware, allow, align.
Yeah.
Mm. And in this case, switch out the AirPods.
That's right. Don't use those anymore, right?
Yeah. We live, we learn.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I apologize for garbage.
It wasn't quite garbage. It's just very different.
And you shouldn't be apologizing. You didn't make those AirPods, did you? It's probably like all the rest of the electronic we get. It lasts for a year or two and then it starts to break down.
All right. Well, feels
Thank
like we are complete.
Yeah, that was good. Thanks so much, everybody.
Yeah, it was a great chat today. You all have a beautiful day.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah. I will check with
Thanks.
me the where allowed the line. That was good. Yeah. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.
You all too.
Love and
Thanks.
hugs
Till
to
next
all of
time.
you.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.